and welcome to this week's edition of Mindful Monday. If it's your first time joining us, feel free to type in the comments where you're coming from. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, you can type them there or direct message me as well. And if it's your first time watching, you type the word mindful after the recording or after the live play, whichever you're watching. I will go back and put a link that you'll be able to follow so that you can get our weekly Mindful Monday cheat sheets, which is a weekly newsletter that has bullet points of what we cover, as well as a free recording that I've done on releasing limiting beliefs. All right, so today we are here to talk about quick and easy ways to stop taking things personally. And so they say that when we were children, we realized that we can't be perfect, that we begin kind of rejecting ourselves to the degree to which we do so, according to Don Miguel Ruiz, author of the 4 Agreements, or 5 Agreements if you have his latest edition, is that this depends upon how much or how effective the adults in our life were at moving us away from our innate integrity, if you will. And we come to a place where we can't forgive ourselves for not being perfect, and yet we can't forgive ourselves for not being who we were meant to be. And we often find ourselves beating ourselves up over this, becoming judge, becoming victim. And Ruiz calls the beliefs that we have adopted our agreements, if you will. And he says that each time we break from one of these agreements that doesn't serve us any longer, all of our personal power is going to come back to us. And so Ruiz calls upon us to adopt 4, or if you have the latest edition, 5 agreements to transform our lives, to stop taking things personally, to stop getting hurt, to stop having all these negative things in our lives. So the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. And so what he means by this is our thoughts, our ideas, our concepts make up our word, if you will. And he likens this to planting seeds, with our mind being the fertile place to plant things. We want our seeds to be pure and free of fear. He says our words are capable of either putting a spell on someone or breaking someone from a spell. Our words are our most important things. And so you can think about how damaging gossip can be, if you will. Now, impeccable translates to without sin, free of sin. So you can measure your degree, he says, of impeccability by your level of self-love. Because if you love yourself, you share that love with others. You're not going to be gossiping. You're not going to be hurting others. Now, agreement number 2 is don't take anything personally. So no matter what happens around you, he says not to take it personally, because what other folks say and do is more of a reflection of them than it is of you. Because basically we're not that important in the whole scheme of things. And when we do take something personally within ourselves, what happens is we make the assumption that others know what's going on with us. And then we take it upon ourselves to impose our world upon them, and nothing good comes of all of that. So if you love yourself and you know who you are and what you're made up of, no words or actions by others can really affect you. And this goes for the good as well as the bad. It's not going to inflate your ego if people compliment you, and it's not going to put you into a place of utter despair if people say something negative or hurtful to you. Now, agreement number 3 is don't make assumptions. Now, when we make assumptions, which we naturally do pretty much all the time about everything, because that's the way the human mind works, it kind of assumes by past things. It's the negativity bias, if you will. We then believe that these assumptions are the actual truth. They're real. And this leads us to make assumptions about what others are thinking and doing. And then we take this personally, so going back to the second agreement, and what then tends to happen is we use our words in negative ways because we're feeling intimidated or threatened, so then we use hurtful words. So we mess up all 3 agreements right there in number 3. And then number 4 is always do your best. Now this one, I really love this one, because under any circumstance, all you can do is your very best. No more and no less. If you're trying to do more than your best, you're expending extra energy. You're depleting yourself of energy. You're depleting your body. You're depleting your needs. You're not taking care of yourself. And if you're doing less than your best, then you're kind of knowing this inside, and then that means that you're kind of not having that self-love, that self-forgiveness kind of thing. So what we want to do is when we do our best, we naturally have this self-love and this self-forgiveness for ourselves, and we project that out to others. And that has a healing effect on everybody, basically. And it allows us to be free and to have peace, and it's going to give that to others as well. Now, Ruiz did come out with another full book, and he has his 5th agreement in it. And it was years later. But the 5th agreement is basically be skeptical, but learn to listen. So it sounds a little negative when you first hear it. But what he means by this is basically that most of us, what we hear is not necessarily true, because we kind of tend to speak in symbols. If you think about time and space continuum, that's not necessarily true. We know that it's more than what we make it out to be, but we have to all get along. So we have this agreement of agreeing that, okay, 9 a.m. is this time, etc., etc. And so we have these symbols. And so we tend to think that these symbols are real and true. And yet we know that all of us are, when we're in our belief system and we're in a negative way, we tend to make our stories distort by our beliefs. So what he means by this is basically to listen so that you can tell, and you can ask yourself, is this real? Is this really true or not? But you're asking yourself not to judge the other person, but just so you're aware of what's going on within you. Because judgment is, again, a negative thing. Excuse me. So when we're just reflecting upon what is true, we're reflecting upon that love and everything else. So it's really a beautiful kind of thing. It's without judgment. It's knowing that we all distort things at times. And it's just, is this really the truth? Is this really this person? Because we're all made of love. So I love the 4 or 5 agreements, if you will. And I think it's a great way, personally, to simplify kind of transforming negative beliefs. Of course, there's deeper things to dive into, but it's a lovely way to kind of self-reflect on these things. So that's all I have for today. I hope you had a great Mindful Monday, and we'll see you again soon in October. Oh my goodness. Take care. Bye.